Hey everyone, Anfield here. Welcome to a new video guide on BDO's Black Shrine bosses. My previous video on Sangoon went over pretty well, and I got a lot of feedback with people telling me it helped them beat the Calamity 7 level, which at the time of this video is still the hardest level and the level that activates a server-wide 20% drop buff. For this video, as you will have seen via the title, we're going to tackle Golden Pig on the Calamity 7 level. So why Golden Pig? Well, there are a number of factors I decided on this boss for the next guide, but one of the core reasons is that it was requested by Whisker from my Twitch stream after he finished taking down Sangoon, so a shout out to him. But also, Golden Pig is a fast boss overall comparatively to others, making it a great choice for your weekly run for rewards. Furthermore, it grants the server-wide +1 AP buff, which you might want for PvE or PvP to hit an extra AP bracket. The final reason for doing Pig is that he's a forgiving boss, and ultimately it's pretty fun to fight him, and we'll get into why in the rest of the video, so let's get started. Buffs-wise, to clear the boss as smoothly as possible, you'll want as much HP as you can get. Now, this is of course true of all the fights, as HP is not capped in Black Shrine. It is really helpful for Pig, however, because he does not really have a one-shot mechanic, so to speak, that would ignore a huge HP pool regardless of how high it gets. This makes him highly forgiving and simply means that for the most part, only repeated mistakes will be punished and good play will be rewarded as less time CC'd is more DPS. As you get better at the boss, you want faster clear times, so I recommend swapping your Hooms out for like Macalods, as with all C7s and below, AP is capped to 10%, but that adds up quickly, as I noticed with the clear speed differences between my main ranger and my seasonal ranger I was previously using to clear Sangoon for the world buff before the teleport system was added. Now let's get into the fight. As I said, Golden Pig is a pure DPS boss fight. You don't deal with random ads to kill or watch for random suiciding mobs jumping at you. Instead, you dodge his attacks while keeping to his back as best that you can. Golden Pig will create a circle around him that will always be equidistant from him on all sides. So when he moves, the circle moves. This is your arena to play in. What is important to know about this is that you cannot exit the circle more than 2 times. If you exit the circle a 3rd time, this will result in an unavoidable one-shot, but this is the only way to get one-shot, and it's not a mechanic to iframe, you just don't do it. At the start of the fight, Pig will just sort of stand there for a few seconds and take a small beating from you. You may be tempted to use your class E buff right away, but I'd recommend holding it just for the time being. After a few seconds, he will launch into his first attack, where he will stomp at the ground, launching 2 waves of attacks, first an inner and then an outer attack. This is red prompted on the ground, so you should see it, but generally just use your iframes for this to avoid it if you want to avoid the CC and damage. Even if you were to get CC'd here, you shouldn't be in any major danger. After this, he'll likely swing his sword around wildly, and this is a little counterintuitive at first, as you may assume that he will only hit from his front, but actually many of these types of attacks his sword will land behind him, and this will CC you if you're not in protection. He will also put his sword ablaze in a red fire, which is simply a frontal cone attack in front of him. Again, his sword lands behind him, so this could CC you if you're not careful, so just stay behind him or iframe if you're unsure. It doesn't last too long. After losing about 5% overall HP, you'll get your first important mechanic. Golden Pig will light up his sword in flames again, but critically the text will accompany it with words, "What on earth did we do wrong?" Golden Pig will then swing his sword in a 360-degree motion twice with an explosion at the end. The sword swing will provide a knockback if you're hit. If it's on the first part of the swing that you get CC'd, then you can usually recover that anyway, so no big deal. I would simply iframe the quick animation explosion, but it should just be a manageable amount of damage to be hit by. But since I've been iframing it for so long, I actually can't really remember. The reason this is an important mechanic, despite lasting only a few seconds, is that by the end, Golden Pig will receive a DP debuff and an AP buff. This is where I recommend using your E buff or class buff while you're still progressing the fight, which allows the maximum damage output while he's debuffed on his DP. Again, much of what happens next will be patterns of mainly frontal sword swings, but likely will have the sword swing to his back for a CC. If you forward guard these, just be careful with your guard gauge. You will need to watch out for Pig stabbing the ground with his sword, since this is going to trigger another wide AoE blast that will be preferably iframed. If you watch him, this should be easy to spot in all fairness. What's dangerous though is that the fire he'll leave on parts of the arena, as you will no doubt have probably learned playing other MMOs, is that fire equal bad, as you will need to avoid parts of the arena until that fire is cleared. If you do retreat to the outer areas of the arena, Pig will follow you, moving the arena with him. If you're CC'd in flames, this is where you should maybe V, since in general he does leave flames on the floor doing other attacks. It's just worth noting that it's always something you should be on the lookout for. By getting closer towards the 60% HP, usually you will get the first phase completion, and Pig will say, "Is that really all you've got?" It is in fact not all that you've got, and so he will then raise his sword above the head and light it up with blue flames this time. This will indicate an incoming mechanic where he will swing his sword 360 degrees after first slamming the floor in a big AoE. This is sketchy, and if you spam a PvE or PvP iframe here, this is probably the time to do it. While you can live this attack, it may leave you on dangerous side of HP and will slow you down regardless with the CCs. So the safe point in this mechanic will be a small pizza slice that will end up behind Golden Pig, which will spare you another explosion after he's done swinging his sword around. Unfortunately, at the conclusion of this attack, his DP debuff will fade for now, and his AP buff will remain, so you need to be cautious here. Typically, you'll see some of the quick attacks here you've seen before, just know that they will do more damage now due to his AP buff. Fortunately, around 50% HP, he will say, "I will fill your bellies with gold and you will choke on your greed." This is a pretty straightforward attack where he will spin with a fiery sword, and again, you can iframe this if you can. I'll say fortunately because after this, his DP debuff will be straight back, but he will go through some basic attack patterns that are largely intuitive. Even if you're hit, you should be okay. Just again, be very careful of the fire on the ground. If he leaves it, fire bad. Around 40% HP, he'll once again say, "Is that really all you've got?" And once again, it's not. So again, this time it's the same mechanic as previously, so watch out for the final swing and explosion and look for the pizza safe spot. After that, usually he will do a new mechanic where he will leave 2 lines of text saying, "You, I won't stand any longer. I'll burn you up with the sun aura." This means he's going to activate this defensive shield. You need to break this shield. It's very easy, and I don't even know what happens if you fail because I'm a god gamer, but if you do need to pop your E buff for it, though, you can feel free to do so. But again, keep in mind that after his shield break, he will lose his DP debuff again. He'll call you his enemy, but be vulnerable as he recovers from the break, so go to town on his back. If you're paying attention, he'll sort of bang his chest and then reapply the DP debuff to himself. I assume this maybe gives him more AP, but there's no visual to confirm this. This is where I would use my second class buff cooldown to close out the final 25%. At around 15%, he'll say, "No, this isn't over, I'm not done yet." Despite the alteration in text here, he's gonna do the same blue fire mechanic, so just the usual. Afterwards, there's a race to the end where he throws out mostly attacks you've seen before. There'll be a new blue fire attack, but it's not like the other one. It's just a frontal swing. These attacks will come thick and fast, so be on your toes here, and he'll constantly turn on you, so you'll need to reposition back to his back constantly. If you manage this, you should take down Golden Pig. My overall advice is practice makes perfect. Even I still get CC'd on this boss through lack of concentration, but again, as I say, he is largely a more forgiving boss and pretty well designed fight, for the reason that even if you're feeling like you're running into a brick wall at the start, you are going to make progress as you see each attack more and more, and then you'll learn what to do, especially on the main blue fire attack, which is all about your timings and your class mobility. Thanks for watching. If you managed to get Pig down, let me know in the comments, and I'll catch you all next time.